There are around 500,000 trucks on the roads of the UK carrying the materials and the goods which make modern life a possibility. And it's really important that all those vehicles are operated in a safe and roadworthy condition. Now, safety is the responsibility of the operator. It involves taking the truck off the road every few weeks for thorough inspections in a workshop. But roadworthiness on a day-to-day basis is where you as a driver come in. The driver's walk-around daily vehicle check is just what it says. It's a visual check on all the items inside and outside the vehicle that you could reasonably be expected to have a look at and make sure are working. It should only take a few minutes, but it's essential to make sure that everything on the truck is working, safe and secure. It is a legal requirement for all drivers to carry out a daily check when they're taking over a vehicle, and it must be done consistently and thoroughly. This way, you'll avoid taking a vehicle out that could have a fault that might earn you points on your licence, a fine, or more importantly, could result in an accident involving injury to yourself or to other road users. We're going to have a look at a few different trucks today, but the principles are the same whatever it is you're driving. So, let's get going. As you walk up to the vehicle, check that it's sitting level and look underneath for any signs of leaking fluid. Then, enter the cab and insert your digicard. DVSA officials will expect to see a record that you spent time with the vehicles before you started driving. This gives them evidence that you did carry out the daily vehicle checks. Then, turn the lights and hazard warning lights on. Alternatively, some trucks have a function on the key fob which makes all the lights turn on and off in sequence. As you leave the cab, release the front grille. Before you leave the driver's door, have a quick look at the tachograph calibration sticker on the door pillar. The calibration date should be less than 2 years old. The vehicle plate will tell you the axle and overall gross weights, and if your company uses service labels, make sure a workshop visit isn't overdue. We'll look at 4 different vehicles in this video: a rigid curtain sider, an Arctic tractor unit and trailer, a rigid box with tail lift, and a skip loader. But remember, the daily check principles apply whatever the vehicle and auxiliary equipment. A useful routine for the outside of the vehicle is to check the top, middle and bottom as you go round it. Look at the top marker lights, then inspect the windscreen for chips or cracks. Under the grille, check the clutch fluid if there's a reservoir, make sure the coolant level is correct, and check the oil level. This truck still has a dipstick, but many are moving to an electronic check using a dashboard switch or menu. Make sure the wiper blades are in good condition. Don't forget that modern trucks have a camera and radar for emergency braking and lane departure warning, so check that the screen in front of the camera is clear and the radar cover isn't dirty. The O-license disc must be displayed and the lights must all be working and clean. Mirrors must be well secured, clean and not cracked or broken. Trucks often have blind spot cameras now as well as mirrors, so make sure camera lenses are clean. Tyres must have a legal depth of tread, no cuts or bulges, and check for anything like a bolt or a nail stuck into the rubber. You must check the wheel nuts for any signs that they're loose. Shiny metal behind the nut is evidence that the wheel has moved. Alternatively, many trucks like this tractor unit have wheel nut indicators. Any sign of a problem must be reported and the wheels properly secured before you take the truck on the road. A loose wheel is a serious fault which could result in both you and the operator being penalised. Most drivers don't have a tyre pressure gauge, but tap on the tyres to make sure they feel and sound solid and hollow. The battery cover must be present and securely fixed. And check that the caps for the fuel and AdBlue tanks are fitted properly and in place. Most modern trucks have an air dryer to stop water condensing in the air tanks, but it's still a good idea to operate the valve on at least one tank. If hardly any water comes out, everything's fine. But if lots of water appears, there's a problem with the system which should be reported. Continue down the side of the vehicle, checking top, middle and bottom. Are the straps and end poles in place and securely fixed on a curtain sider? Are side protection bars solidly fixed? Are safety clips in place on any securing pins? Are all the side marker lights working? Ask yourself, what would a DVSA inspector look for? Would they find anything amiss? Spray suppression must be present and in good condition. And check for broken bricks or stones between double wheels, especially if the vehicle's used off-road. At the rear of the vehicle, under-run bars must be in good condition. Reverse and number plate lights have to be working as well as tail lights and indicators. And if there's a trailer, check the number plate matches the towing vehicle. If the truck doesn't have an automatic light check function, brake lights can be checked by asking a colleague to help, or looking at a reflection off a suitable surface. Door securing mechanisms must secure the doors top and bottom. Hooks for covers such as on this skip lorry must be sound, and auxiliary equipment such as ladders, hooks, pipes or hoses should be properly fixed in place. Check fuel levels and tank caps for ancillary items such as a fridge unit. If a trailer is already coupled up, check that air lines and electrical cables are all connected. The trailer legs must be well clear of the ground and the winding handle properly secured. Make sure the park brake is off, the shunt button is not pushed in, and the trailer is at the correct ride height. On the driver's side, make sure the fifth wheel handle is fixed, locked in place and secured with the safety clip. All loads must be checked for security, especially if the vehicle is already loaded for you. Remember, the driver is responsible for the vehicle and the load while out on the road. Once you've reached the driver's door again and satisfied yourself that everything outside is working, safe and secure for travelling, it's time to enter the cab once more. Clear away any rubbish which could get onto the floor and interfere with the pedals, or papers causing glare on the windscreen. Adjust the seat and steering wheel, then make sure they're both securely locked in position. Turn on the ignition, but don't start the engine yet. Warning lights for safety systems such as ABS should come on, then go out. And check that the lights for advanced emergency braking and lane departure warning turn to green, indicating that the systems are working. All-round vision is vital, so adjust the mirrors to give proper coverage of all the surroundings. The demister should work to clear the windscreen and test the washers and wipers. On modern trucks, it's very important that additional safety equipment is working, so test them if fitted by indicating left,
stand clear, this vehicle is turning left,
then by selecting reverse to make sure the audible warnings and the blind spot cameras work properly. Test the horn, and don't forget that you must be able to see the speedometer in the dark, so check the instrument illumination. Go through all the vehicle controls to make certain they function properly. A low air pressure warning is a legal requirement, so pump the brake pedal until the air pressure drops and the low pressure warning comes on. Then start the engine, make sure the pressure builds and the warning stops when the safe pressure is reached. Press the brake pedal and hold it down. Listen for air leaks and watch the gauges. They should stay steady. Pressure dropping indicates an air leak which must be fixed before the truck goes out on the road. Many driving functions are operated by switches these days. On this vehicle, the gearbox mode and cruise control are selected by a steering wheel switch, so check the switch is working. If the truck has adjustable suspension height or a liftable axle, operate them, using the dashboard switches and using a remote control if it's supplied. Make sure the height indicators set accurately to the overall height of the vehicle and load. Check before you leave the yard if you're in any doubt. Finally, the seatbelt must retract properly and the clip must hold securely in place. Complete any paperwork required by your company. A check sheet or electronic report might need to be filled in, even if no faults are found, so make sure you know the procedures to follow to report a defect or confirm that there are none. Auxiliary equipment must be thoroughly inspected to make sure everything is working. For example, skip loading equipment controls should all operate the right functions smoothly. The emergency stop must immediately stop all movement. The in-cab warning lights must illuminate when the equipment is operated and go out when everything is returned to the stowed position for travelling. If a skip is loaded, check the cover is secured and the skip is in the middle of the bed and in line with the truck. Serious injury can result from faulty tail lifts, so they should be tested throughout their complete cycle of operations. First, check the SWL plate together with flags or flashing lights are fitted and visible. Make sure the pivot bolts are present and tight, the stopper or mushroom is not broken or worn, and the travel locks are engaged. Then lower the tail lift to about waist height so that you're not bending and risking back injury. Let down the tail lift, checking that the counterweight spring supports the weight. Lift all the plates and make sure they lock firmly in position. Then lower the tail lift to the floor, checking that the lowering legs aren't bent or buckled. Enter through the corner. Open the roller door and activate the interior controls. Fully raise the tail lift, making sure it comes to a halt level with the floor of the cargo area. After checking the loads secured properly and that any additional equipment such as cage chocks are present, lower the roller door using the handle, then lower the tail lift to pull the door closed. This avoids the risk of trapping fingers between the door sections. Don't forget to return the power to the outside controls before you lock the door. Then raise the tail lift back to waist height, fold down the safety plates, fold up the tail lift, then raise it to the travelling position, checking once again that the travel locks engage properly. When you're sure that all driving controls and safety systems are functioning, you're ready to drive the truck. But that's not the end of your responsibility to keep the vehicle roadworthy. All the time you're driving, be alert for any defects that might develop, especially in relation to steering or brakes. If any warning lights come on or anything stops working during your shift, make sure you know what to do. Some defects can leave the truck safe to drive, but must be reported on your return. More serious defects must be reported straight away, so make sure you know your company procedures.
So there we are. As you can see, the check should only take a few minutes and the same principles apply whatever vehicle you're driving and whatever equipment's fitted. It doesn't matter what order you do the checks in, but it is useful to develop your own routine so that the checks are always consistent and always thorough. That way you keep the vehicle roadworthy, your license secure, and all of us safe.